Jimmy Kimmel is back on the air, but that doesn't mean that Mickey Mouse is safe just yet. According to reports from Bloomberg, Disney is steeling itself for retaliation from Trump even now. And I think that, yes, that's wise that you are steeling yourself because they are definitely going to come for you. Trump has still been talking about Jimmy Kimmel basically constantly since he was brought back. They apparently believe that the quest to take out their broadcast licenses will continue. Bear in mind, there are still a significant number of cities in America where you cannot watch Jimmy Kimmel. So to some extent, the censorship of him has still been successful. And sure, you can say that Nexstar and Sinclair are just choosing to do this, but they were advised by Brendan Carr to do it. They're still doing it. They have not changed anything. That aspect of the plan is exactly the same as it was on day one. The only thing that's changed is that Disney has backed off. So I understand their concern. And in advance of continuing efforts to censor Jimmy Kimmel, but to expand it to a number of other critics of the administration, the lies continue. The right does not want to admit that this is about censorship, suppression of critical thought, critical coverage, cancel culture. They want to pretend it's something else, anything else. And for JD Vance, that anything else has now become, it was all just a joke.
Look, on the free speech conversation, I'm pretty sure that Jimmy Kimmel was back on the air last night. And to the extent that he's not back on the air, it's because he's not funny and has terrible ratings. This is not a federal government problem. This is... And Kid, I want to answer your question in good faith. What people will say is, well, didn't the FCC commissioner put a tweet out that said something bad? Well, Kid, compare that, the FCC commissioner making a joke on social media. What is the government action that the Trump administration has engaged in to kick Jimmy Kimmel or anybody else off the air? Zero. What government pressure have we brought to bear to tell people that they're not allowed to speak their mind? Zero.
That's a lie. I'll actually define a number of ways how. First of all, I like that he says, I want to answer that question in good faith, and then decided to go in a different direction anyway, because he definitely didn't. He knows that he was not fired because he's not funny and has no talent. That's an applause line. It was delivered to get applause in front of a right-wing audience, and that's what he got. He doesn't believe that at all. He knows that this is censorship. He's trying to engage in it right there. So when he says, what is the government action that has been taken? I mean, do you want to go through all those different government actions? You remember that you guys banned the AP from the press briefing room because they would call it the Gulf of Mexico. You banned them from Air Force One as well. You've deported people for writing op-eds that you don't like. You've detained and deported people for critical social media commentary of the federal government or of Donald Trump. I could and have gone on, but those are all government actions. But to be honest, we don't even have to diverge from this particular topic because what we are talking about was government action. And it was not a tweet. Again, to claim that you want to come at this in good faith and then pretend that the entire thing is about Brendan Carr tweeting something. No. He went on a right-wing grifter podcast and told those who broadcast Jimmy Kimmel's show around the country that you can do this the easy way or the hard way, knowing that they have multi-billion-dollar mergers at stake. That was the government action. A threat from the head of the FCC to block their pending merger if they don't censor the target of the president's ire. That actually, does that help, JD Vance? That was the government action, actually. It was not a joke, it was serious. By the way, on the show, not that it matters, Carr didn't laugh when he said it. The grifter he was talking to didn't laugh. They were deadly serious about this. And just a couple of hours later, when Kimmel was, again, almost immediately taken off the air to try to comply with this explicit threat from the head of the FCC, the Benny Johnson, the grifter he'd been talking to, proudly claimed that it was due to that interview. It was not, weirdly, I know this is a shocker, it wasn't a coincidence that, oh yeah, no, he's just never been talented. So they kept him on the air for like 15 years or something. And then they decided to can him inside of hours of the FCC head threatening to shut down this merger. No, again, JD Vance arguably deserves less respect than Donald Trump at this point, because to some extent, I don't think that Donald Trump knows any better. I don't think that he's known any better for literally decades. But JD Vance is knowingly lying about every bit of this, and it's gross. You know who else, by the way, didn't think that it was a joke? Your boss, JD Vance, Donald Trump, didn't think that it's a joke. And once Jimmy Kimmel was put back on the air, he continued to try to shut them down, threatening that he was going to sue ABC. Again, feels like government action when the president decides he's going to sue this company yet again, brags about the money he's already been able to extract from them, again with threats to interfere with their business decisions, yet more government action. And now he's saying that he wants to do even more of that. And look, Kimmel is back on, that's good. Again, to JD Vance's first point, the idea that because they took a show down and then crumbled under pressure, well, I guess the government didn't do anything wrong, is not at all how anything works. And thankfully, no matter how much Donald Trump and JD Vance want to imply that nobody likes Jimmy Kimmel, he seems to be doing quite well for himself. His live audience on his return show was 6.3 million people on broadcast alone. And that is despite the fact that a significant percentage of markets weren't even carrying his show. He still got great viewership. There was a larger online audience. More than 15 million people watched his opening remarks on YouTube by Wednesday evening. ABC says more than 26 million people watched his return on social media, including YouTube. By the way, that 6.3 million he got, even though he was shut down in a bunch of places, he normally gets 1.8 million. He almost quadrupled his normal viewership. And that is brought to you by Donald Trump, by JD Vance, by the right-wing cancel culture, that when they decide to say, no, this person is so dangerous that they have to be taken off the air, a lot of people tune in and want to find out, hey, what is this guy doing that is so dangerous to this authoritarian regime? So thank you for that, JD Vance.